What's our intro? We had to laugh because that was the best clap we've ever done.
All right, today's the day.
Today is the day.
We are waiting for the call from Mr. Michael Menkin.
That we are.
We have our question set up over here. He's gonna call us. We're gonna record the call. It's gonna be awesome. We're very nervous. We just talked to him on the phone. We just talked to him on the phone to make sure that he was ready. See when we could talk to him and interview him. I feel like I'm about to interview a celebrity.
I know.
A little bit. It's a little nerve-wracking.
It is. The only person who's ever called me on this number is you.
Yeah.
We have set up a Google Voice account, which would let us record the call. So I'm not really sure how well the quality is going to be.
Call is now being recorded.
When we tested it out, it sounded pretty good, but
Hello?
if it's not, bear with us. Can we add subtitles? We'll try to add subtitles. Yeah.
Hi, this is Michael Menkin. You called me. You said you wanted to interview me.
Yes, we are all set. Thanks again for letting us interview you on such short notice. Yeah, this is very exciting. We are very excited.
Well, it is exciting. I do have people I call and talk to who have my ThoughtScreen helmet. I have one woman in Virginia who says she's shooting at them. And I have another man in Mississippi who says he has seen one of these hybrids actually shopping. I'm still in touch with a woman that's on the King 5 interview. She has my helmets, and she wears my helmets, and she has been wearing them since 1999. I have another woman who in Arkansas who has 3 daughters, and she just called me that she's being abducted when she doesn't wear the helmet, and she thinks they're taking her husband now. He doesn't want to talk about it. Go ahead. What did you want to? I'm kind of interjecting here when we haven't even established what the subject is for listeners. So go ahead. I'll let you start.
We have a couple questions about autism, because I know you said that was one of the most important parts that you wanted us to
That's
get
a theory that I have. Yes, go ahead.
We wanted to know, why do you think this causes specifically autism rather than any other mental illness or physical deformity when the aliens are reproducing?
Well, that's a good question, because the children of people with my helmets are autistic, and a lot of the parents who call me about being abducted and ask for helmets have autistic children. But there's one woman who actually started in 1999. She said her son is schizophrenic, and David Jacobs also talks about children being disabled, children of abductees being disabled. It was my theory that the aliens are, and David Jacobs says that they are taking pieces of our DNA and mixing it with whatever they are and creating another race that is partially alien. And after making ThoughtScreen helmets for what now 19 years and talking to the parents of autistic children, I came to the conclusion that the aliens have actually been damaging human DNA from the research that we've done. Wendy Chung has she's from Colombia, and she has a whole series of talks about autism being genetic in origin. So I think it's genetic, but also on my website, Aliens and Children, I talk about Down syndrome. There's actually an increase in Down syndrome. We can't prove that, but if they have been damaging the human genome genetically, there may be other disorders that are genetic that have increased because of their activities. So it may be more than autism. Although we don't have an increase in schizophrenia, we have what's called an epidemic of autism and this is debatable for a couple of reasons. One is the way we now interpret autism and then also report it. But there's a tremendous increase in autism, so I'm focusing on autism. But if they're damaging the human genome, there may be other disorders that are also increasing, but not at that rate. In 1995, 1% of the total world population was disabled from schizophrenia, and we're now up an additional percentage. So we now have 2% of the world's population disabled, 1% from autism, and 1% from schizophrenia. And at the rate we're going, if you see the data, you can go to any reputable autism website, and not only in this country but in England. By 2050, we may have another percentage. We may have 2% of the population disabled from autism by around 2050. So this is alarming and catastrophic for the whole human race. That's why I'm concerned with it. I'm the only UFO investigator who has approached the problem from this point. There's nobody who has seen the connection, but then I'm the only person who's making these hats, thought screen helmets, and giving them to people. So I have a tool that gives me a unique perspective on the situation, since I'm unique to the whole situation. Also, I don't have any agenda. Professor Jacobs points out that a lot of people who do research have an agenda, and they try to fit their observations into an agenda, but I don't. So although these creatures have advanced technology and they can come here from vast distances away, and they can do incredible things like pass people through solid walls, float people with anti-gravity, and actually make themselves invisible, they don't understand human behavior enough to know if somebody's normal or somebody's abnormal. So they don't really know that they're making a mistake. So my viewpoint is they're really not good scientists. Also, they're not sampling the population to see the effect that they're doing. Yeah, it's a very different point of view. They don't understand human behavior well enough because it's so complicated to see what effect they're doing. Now, the other thing that I think makes sense is we have what's called a spectrum of autism disorders. We have children who can't speak, children who are antisocial, to just children who are kind of savants. They have some kind of super memory or capacity, or they just have some other problem such as flapping their hands. And my take on that is that the aliens are doing this process by trial and error. So they're doing a little of this and a little of that. So the results of their efforts of manipulating the human genome are from mild to extreme, and that would explain this wide variance, which is called the spectrum of autism disorder. It does fit into the pattern that I see, but it's a very different view because I'm the only one who says that they are poor scientists. They are really not aware of the mistakes that they're making. And people say, "Gee, if they can come here from some distant star, how come they can do that? Because they don't understand human behavior, and the human genome is extremely complex, so they don't see what they're doing." Unfortunately, I can't get any more proof. I do have some drawings that people send me, maybe enough to put one more page up, but not enough, even though I'm asking for drawings. But that's still indirect proof. Those are drawings by children. We don't have any evidence of alien abductions outside of implants that Roger Lear has found or marks on people's bodies. So right now we can't prove it. That's the frustrating point. I'm planning to make some videos for aliens and children, but I don't have any more evidence at this time, and I have not been able to get it. But I hope I've answered your question that there may be some other genetic damage to people, but it's the epidemic of autism that's this tremendous increase. Although there's an increase in Down syndrome, I don't know if that's related or not, but that's still a genetic disorder, and I have that on my site. Okay,
that actually makes a lot of sense. Like everything you said is it makes a lot of sense. It makes sense to us, but do you have anything to say to maybe anybody who is autistic themselves or families of people who might be autistic that may not believe everything you're saying?
The only thing I can say is two things. That the aliens are very good at preventing people from remembering, shutting out short-term memory. Now, the National Trauma Institute for Children had a whole set of criteria for noting the extremes and indicators of trauma in children, and I had a whole table on my site of all the trauma indicators that would indicate that your child is being abducted, but they threatened to sue me if I didn't take it down. But some of the things are if your child is afraid to go to bed at night, if they don't want to be in a room alone, if they think that somebody is after them or they want to take vengeance out on somebody, if they have an abnormal fear of swimming, because the aliens put children in vats of liquid. We have no idea why they do that, but they put them in vats of liquid, and I have several adults who have told me that. That's also why children are afraid of clowns, because they remember the large eyes of the gray aliens. Those are all triggers to indicate that a child has been abducted. If I get more proof, I'll put that back up and maybe let the Trauma Institute try to sue me. But since they did that, I took that down. The other thing is to go to all of the drawings that I have, especially the drawings of children having medical procedures put on them, and they don't remember being in a hospital. If adults find their children making drawings like that, then those children may also be abducted. The main one of the main points of aliens and children is that although aliens can erase short-term memory, especially in adults, the process in children is not as definitive. It's not as strong. So children remember their experience, especially very young children, and they start drawing them, and that's an indicator that they've actually been abducted. What makes it believable is that children who have been abducted all their drawings are similar. Their experiences are similar, so they'll draw themselves being medically examined. They'll draw a gray alien. They may draw an insect alien. They may draw an alien spacecraft. If they're consistent in their drawings, they may be abducted. And the parents don't want to admit that, but that may be true. So those are indicators on that, and that's why I also have to make a video, because parents are reluctant to read through the whole site, so a video would be more appropriate. I use the concept, it's a 5-year-old is giving us a window on real activity, alien activity. It's a small window, and it's a window that's seen by a 5-year-old child, but it's a real window of what's actually transpiring all over the world. So those are the indicators that I can give. About a year and a half ago, when the Canadians were here and filmed me for the series The End of the World, they refused to talk about autism, and if you study the autism, and you go to meetings, I go to the meetings of the Talk About Curing Autism, the TACA meetings, and talk to the parents. The whole world is in a crisis with autism. As I said before, we now have 1% of the whole world's population is disabled from autism. There are 4.5 million autistic children in India. There's 1.5 million autistic children in America. I could go to a site and get you the latest count and percentages, but it's always going up. And when I talk to the parents of autistic children, and they realize that their child is disabled and they never hold a job, they say, when do we declare a state of emergency? And I say we declare a state of emergency right now when you see what's going on with the epidemic of autism. This is one of the situations, I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm right, but I can't prove it.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions in addition to your hat of something that parents and autistic people themselves can do to help combat this?
The hat is the only thing that works as far as I know. You can buy Velostat from several companies by the foot. Any kind of hat that you can put the Velostat in will work, but you have to wear the hat all the time to stop aliens. They figure out when you're being taken and take you at other times, and also the hat is hot to wear. You really have trouble wearing it in the summer, so people are taken in the summer. But as far as I know, the hat is the only thing that really works. Some people say that the aliens don't like certain odors. I don't know how well that works. It may be a detriment. And also, David Jacobs says when you put video cameras in front, they may not take people because they don't want to be seen, but they've figured out how to turn off the cameras. So that's kind of ineffective. But the hat's all we have, and they're very good at erasing short-term memory. They also harass children, so they get the children very frightened, which is another trauma indicator. But the Trauma Institute will not accept that. I had one case of a woman and her daughter who had helmets, and the mother wore hers, but the daughter was reluctant to wear hers. And the aliens kept harassing the little girl, saying something terrible will happen to your mother if she doesn't stop wearing the hat. And they harassed her so much that her mother eventually gave up and stopped wearing the hat, and they were taken. So that you have to wear the hat, and you have to realize that it's a fight. But if you're a child and you don't want to wear the hat or you can't wear the hat, they're very good at frightening children, and that's also a problem all over the world, because you have these traumatized children, and they're not recognizing the source of the trauma. So their treatment it may be ineffective. That was my comment to the Trauma Institute, but I don't have any proof of that. I'd love to put the table back up on all the trauma indicators that show that your child is actually being abducted. But if they don't want to sleep in their room, they don't want to go in their bed, they're terrified. There's something going on that they're being taken, and they just will not enter that room at night, and that's common for children. The other thing is sometimes the aliens are sloppy, and they leave the children outside, and the parents find the children in the morning outside the house, and the house is locked, and they can't figure out how the child got outside. And of course, the children were taken out of the room and then just put back next to the house, not in the house. And I have cases of that too. But if you're a parent and that happens to you, or you even have a baby who can't get out of the crib, and then you wake up in the morning and you find your baby out of the crib and you can't figure out how they got out of there, something took them out of there. So that's what's going on, and parents may be aware of that, but the parents are reluctant to admit that or deal with that, especially if they don't have a hat. There's nothing they can do.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean,
so that's my comment for that. But the hat's all we've got. That's it.
Yeah.
And the site is a public service nonprofit. It's an assembly site. It tells you how to make a hat. I don't sell anything. I don't have any financial connection with any of the materials. Matter of fact, I give the hats away for free, and I still give the hats away for free.
Yeah, I thought that was actually really great to see, and it definitely helps make your cause a lot more believable because you don't have anything to gain from it.
Right. There's nothing I'm gaining from it. Right.
So obviously, sometimes people aren't telling the truth. So how can you justify the people who do message you and ensure that their stories are true?
Well, it's actually very easy. The real people, the people who are really taken, are terrified.
Yeah.
They're scared to death.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And very, very few people. I do have some people who are putting me on, but actually very few. And real abductees don't want to talk about it, and they say they haven't talked about it to anybody. If they're adults, they don't want to even talk to their spouse about it because sometimes they're only taken and their spouse isn't. So they're reluctant to talk about it, and they're terrified.
Yeah. Well, I think those are all the questions we have. Did you have anything else you wanted to say to get out there?
Well, I've been finding that the hat has helped people with other problems, headaches, autism, epilepsy. I have another website now called neurohat.org, which discusses the other healing process of the hat. They may want to see that site as well.
Yeah, I think we briefly hit on that, but we'll link that. We'll link all of your websites in the description. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this
okay.
is very enlightening. Okay. This is very enlightening.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What a man.
That was really good.
That was very interesting. He said that the aliens turn off cameras.
Camera died.
Camera died. And then the call cut out. Like right afterwards. I think we're still recording from the call where the camera died, so we can put that in, which is...
We were still recording the call, just not with the camera.
That was Michael Menkin. That was
really good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously his claims are a little out there, but I think listening to him speak, he really does know what he's talking about.
He does. He has a very, very solid basis for all of his claims. He had very good answers to all of our questions, too. I was surprised, especially when I asked him if he had anything to say to autistic people and their families and anyone who knows them. I was very happy with all of the answers that we got.
And I will say, like, just from personal experience, I know you have a terrible fear of clowns.
I am severely afraid of clowns. I can't do it, not even close.
And I know a lot of people with autism, and, like, one person that I know, like, she can't have anything on her head. Like, she cannot wear a hat.
Yeah, I've heard about that a lot.
Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, she can't wear a hat. And, like, I don't know, just putting a little question
I'm
in
just
there.
thinking about what he said, you know?
It's really wild, and I hope that gives everybody something to think about.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, like, these kids, like, they have such, like, trauma from being abducted. Like, that might contribute to also, like, all, like, certain phobias. Like you said, they don't want to go swimming.
Yeah.
Like, that might contribute to, like, hydrophobia, kids who don't want to be in water. And then, obviously, the chlorophobia. And then they don't, like, that might contribute to a lot of, like, probably anxiety disorders.
Yeah.
That's probably what they're diagnosed as, but it's honestly just
abduction. That makes total sense.
It actually makes a lot of sense.
Like, even
when you
that
think
together.
about it. Yeah.
That's so wild. I mean, that put it into perspective.
It really did. It made me feel better about everything he's doing, because I was afraid that people would, like, make fun of it because maybe he wasn't as, you know, thorough as we thought, but he's incredibly thorough. Very, very intelligent guy. Good guy.
And, I mean, I don't know how you're feeling on it. I still don't know how I'm feeling on it, but it is still something that feel like we want to get out there and just like talk about. Because even if aliens aren't causing autism, something is, and it's an issue. And it's not an issue where it's like autism awareness and like we need to be aware of how to stop it and how to train kids into acting normal. But it is something that we have to accept and deal with from now on, because autistic people don't function the same way, and sometimes they need things to be different. And that's something that we as a society have to come to terms with.
Yeah, and we don't want you to think that we're not trying to like... See, I still can't think of how to say it. Like, I don't want to make people think that we're trying to undermine...
Yeah, like, we're not trying to say autism is caused by aliens and it's like the worst thing ever, and like, if you're autistic, you're an alien, and like all this...
It's not,
that's not what we mean.
We just want to get this out there because it seems to have been helping a lot of people, the helmets. Even if it's not really actually physically helping, it's something, it's kind of like a coping mechanism in a lot of ways.
I mean, there's all kinds of wild things. There's like people, they don't eat gluten and that helps with autism. Like, there's so many things that you can do, and like, this is just one more crazy therapy. There are so many crazy therapies that people with autism are trying, and
other like mental, like learning, mental whatever disabilities.
And like he said, with headaches and epilepsy, like I mean, if it can help, it can help. If it doesn't, it didn't hurt to wear a hat for a couple months.
Right. I mean, it's not gonna harm you. It's not gonna, make anything worse. But if it doesn't work, then nothing happens.
This has been our interview.
That was our interview. I'm satisfied.
I'm really happy with this. I hope you guys got a lot out of that, because it really changed our view on it, I think.
Yeah.
I think from the first video, it's easy to pass off and say, this guy's wacko.
This is nuts.
But listening to him speak and just taking everything he says with a grain of salt, but taking it as, this is somebody who's been researching this for 20 years. This is somebody who is looking into it and is the only person looking into it in this way. Maybe he's onto something.
He almost got sued by the Trauma Institute, guys.
He's really legit.
He's legit.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
I'd say the spooky bitches are out for this week.